They don't tell you that coming home is harder than leaving. I was a machinist's mate on the USS Portland. Heavy cruiser. Spent 3.5 years in the Pacific. Pearl Harbor, Coral Sea, Midway, Guadalcanal, Leyte Gulf. The whole war, start to finish. I saw things, well, everyone wants to hear about the battles, the action, the so-called glory. But that's not what keeps me up at night anymore. This is about what happened after, about coming home in 45, about learning that you can't just go back. I grew up in the Bronx, Italian neighborhood. Everyone knew everyone. My old man worked the docks. Ma took in laundry. 3 younger sisters. We weren't rich, but we got by. I enlisted in 1940, figured the Navy was safer than the Army, steady pay, see the world, seemed smart at the time. Funny how wrong you can be. By August 45, I'd been at sea most of 4 years. I was 23, but felt ancient. I'd watched the Arizona burn with over 1,000 men trapped inside her. Pulled burned sailors out of the water at Guadalcanal. Saw kamikazes crash into ships. Saw friends disappear in a flash. I'd killed people, too. Lots of them, probably. That's what war is. You don't think about it while it's happening. You just do your job. When they dropped those bombs, when Japan surrendered on the 15th of August, I was on deck with the rest of the crew. Everyone went crazy, cheering, crying, hugging each other. The war was over. We were going home. I cheered too, cried too. But underneath all that relief, there was this cold, heavy feeling in my gut. Fear, because I had no idea who the hell I was supposed to be anymore. We didn't sail straight home. Took weeks to process everything, to get the ship ready for decommissioning. They kept us busy with make work, cleaning, painting, inventory. Anything to keep thousands of restless sailors occupied while we waited for orders. The guys talked about nothing but home, what they were going to do first, who they were going to see. Vinnie Marconi from Brooklyn said he was going to kiss every girl on his block. Tommy Chen, radio man, good kid, he was going to help his parents with their restaurant in San Francisco. Big Mike Patterson wanted to buy a farm in Iowa, settle down, never see the ocean again. Me? I didn't know. Couldn't picture it. Tried to imagine walking back into my parents' apartment, sitting at the dinner table, being normal. But I couldn't see it. Like there was static in my head whenever I tried. We got mail call one day in September. I got 7 letters from home, all dated weeks apart. My mother's handwriting on everyone. I sat on my bunk and read them in order. She talked about the neighborhood, about my sisters. Maria had graduated high school. Angie had a boyfriend. Little Rosa was talking about becoming a teacher. She talked about rationing ending, about everyone celebrating VJ Day in the streets. She talked about how proud they were of me, how they couldn't wait to see me, how everything would be perfect once I came home. Perfect. I folded the letters and put them in my locker. Couldn't write back. What was I supposed to say? Dear Ma, I'm glad Maria graduated. By the way, I watched a guy burn to death last year and I couldn't do anything about it. Can't wait for Sunday dinner? The disconnect was already starting. They were living one life back home, normal life, peacetime life, and I was stuck in another one. Even though the shooting had stopped, I was still at war. Still seeing things when I closed my eyes, still jumping at sudden noises, still feeling the deck move under my feet even when I was standing still. We finally got our orders in late October. The Portland was heading to San Francisco for decommissioning. From there, we'd be discharged and sent home. Home. The word felt foreign, like a language I used to speak but couldn't remember anymore. The closer we got to San Francisco, the quieter the ship became. Everyone was thinking the same thing, I guess, wondering if the people we left behind would recognize what came back. We sailed under the Golden Gate Bridge on November 3rd, 1945. The whole crew was on deck. There were boats in the harbor, people waving flags, a band playing somewhere. Welcome home, heroes, that sort of thing. I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt sick. Actually, physically sick. My hands were shaking, couldn't catch my breath. Chief Patterson saw me gripping the rail and asked if I was all right. I lied and said I was fine. We docked at Hunter's Point. They processed us out over the next few days. Medical checks, paperwork, back pay, discharge papers. Everything moved fast, too fast. 1 minute you're in the Navy, the next you're a civilian again. Here's your discharge, here's your mustering out pay. Good luck, thanks for your service. Just like that. I got on a train heading east on November 8th. Cross-country trip back to New York. 5 days of sitting in a coach car, watching America go by through the window. Farmland, mountains, small towns. Everything looked wrong somehow. Too clean, too peaceful, too normal. There were other veterans on the train. Some were loud, drunk, celebrating. Others sat quiet like me, staring out the windows with that same look in their eyes. We recognized each other, didn't need to talk. We knew. A woman got on in Chicago, middle-aged, nice lady. Sat across from me and made conversation. Asked where I'd been, what I'd done. I gave her the short version. Pacific 3 years machinist's mate. She smiled and thanked me for my service. Said her son was in Europe. Came home in July. He's doing wonderfully, she said. Back at his old job, dating a lovely girl. It's like he never left. I nodded, smiled, said that was great. But inside I was thinking, how? How is that possible? I got to Penn Station on November 13th. Stood there in the terminal with my sea bag, looking at all the people rushing around. Businessmen, families, couples holding hands, everyone moving with purpose, knowing where they were going, what they were doing. I didn't know what to do. Literally didn't know what my next move was supposed to be. Go home, call first, just show up? I'd been in the Navy for 5 years. They told me when to wake up, when to eat, when to sleep, what to wear, where to go. Now, nothing. Just me and a sea bag full of clothes that didn't fit right anymore in a city that felt like another planet. I found a payphone, called my parents' number. My mother answered on the second ring. Ma, I said, it's home. She screamed, happy screaming, crying, calling to my father. They'd been waiting for word, didn't know when I was arriving. She said to come right away. She'd make dinner. Everyone would be there. I hung up and stood there for 10 minutes, maybe longer. People walked past. Nobody noticed the sailor frozen at the payphone, too terrified to go home. Finally, I picked up my sea bag, walked out to catch the subway to the Bronx. Every step felt like walking to my own execution. The apartment looked exactly the same. Same furniture, same pictures on the walls, same smell of my mother's cooking. Like I'd stepped back in time, except I hadn't. I'd gone forward into hell and somehow ended up back here, and nothing fit anymore. They threw a party. My mother, my father, my sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors. Everyone wanted to see me, touch me, hear stories. They put out food, pasta, meatballs, bread, wine, the good stuff, the stuff they'd been saving. For me, the hero. I sat at the table and smiled and nodded and answered questions. Yes, I was fine. No, I wasn't hurt. Yes, it was good to be home. No, I didn't want to talk about the really bad stuff. People understood that. Mostly. Uncle Tony, he'd been in the First War, France. He pulled me aside at one point, looked at me real close. You need time, he said quietly. Don't let them rush you. It takes time. I nodded. But I was thinking, time for what? To become who I was before. That kid's dead. He died at Pearl Harbor or Guadalcanal or somewhere in between. Time wasn't going to bring him back. My youngest sister, Rosa, she was 15 now. She'd been 11 when I left. She kept staring at me during dinner, and finally she said, "Frankie, you look different." Everyone got quiet. "Different how?" Ma asked, shooting Rosa a look. Rosa shrugged. "Just older. Sad." "He's tired from the trip," Ma said quickly. "He needs rest." But Rosa was right. I did look different, felt different, was different. The party went until midnight. People finally started leaving, hugging me, saying how glad they were I was home safe. After they left, it was just family. My father opened another bottle of wine. We sat in the living room like we used to do, except nothing was like it used to be. "So," my father said, "what's the plan? You going to go back to the shipyard? Tony says they're hiring." "A plan?" "Right. I was supposed to have a plan." "I don't know yet," I said. "Need to figure things out." Of course, he said. "You got time. The important thing is you're home. You're safe." Safe. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to explain that I'd never feel safe again, that safe was a word that didn't mean anything anymore. Instead, I just nodded and finished my wine. The breaking point came 3 weeks after I got home. I'd been trying, really trying. Got up every morning, got dressed, went out looking for work, came home for dinner with the family, listened to the radio, went to bed, did it again the next day, playing normal. But I wasn't sleeping, maybe 2-3 hours a night. I'd lie there in my old bed, my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the building settle, to the street sounds outside. Every car backfire made me jump. Every door slam put me back on the Portland's deck, waiting for the next attack. During the day, I'd space out, be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly realize I hadn't heard the last 5 minutes. Be walking down the street and forget where I was going. Stand in a store staring at shelves full of things, soap, cigarettes, candy, things we never had at sea, and I couldn't remember why I'd come in or what I needed. My mother kept pushing food at me. "You're too thin," she'd say. "Eat, eat." But nothing tasted right, or maybe I just didn't care. Then came December 7th, 4 years since Pearl Harbor. I woke up that morning and the date hit me like a fist. 4 years. I was 19 when it happened, watching the Arizona explode, seeing the harbor burn, pulling guys out of the water, some of them alive, most of them not. I got out of bed, put on my clothes, walked out of the apartment without saying anything to anyone. Just walked through the Bronx, into Manhattan, across the Brooklyn Bridge. Walked for hours, no destination. Just moving because if I stopped, I'd have to think, and I couldn't think about it. Ended up at the waterfront in Brooklyn. Sat on a pier watching the ships come and go. Commercial vessels, tugboats, a couple Navy ships in the distance. The water was gray and cold. I thought about how easy it would be to just slip in. Let the current take me. Be done with it. I sat there until dark, until I was shivering so bad I could barely stand. A cop found me around midnight, asked if I was all right. I must have looked pretty rough because he seemed genuinely concerned. "I'm fine," I said, same lie I'd been telling everyone. "You need to get home, pal. It's freezing out here." "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, I know." But I didn't move. Couldn't. The cop stood there for a while, then finally sat down next to me. "You a veteran?" he asked. I nodded. He nodded back, didn't say anything else, just sat with me for an hour until I was ready to go home. I never told my family about that night. What would I say? That their son, their brother, the war hero who came home safe, sat on a pier thinking about drowning himself, they wouldn't understand. Couldn't. Things got a little better after that. Not good, but better. I found work at the shipyard. Not the same one, different one, but it was work. Union job, decent pay. I showed up on time, did what I was told, went home. That was it. I moved out of my parents' place in '47, got a small apartment in Queens. Ma cried, said I should stay home, save money. But I needed space, needed to not have to pretend every single day. Met a girl in '49, Margaret, waitress at a diner near the shipyard. Sweet girl, pretty smile. We dated for a while, got married in 1950. She knew I was a veteran, but I never told her much. She'd ask sometimes, what was it like? And I'd give her nothing. It was war. It was bad. I don't want to talk about it. She stopped asking eventually. We had 2 kids, boy and a girl. I tried to be a good father. Worked steady, put food on the table, kept a roof over their heads. But I was distant. That's the word Margaret used when she finally left in '68. You're here, but you're not here. It's like living with a ghost. She was right. I spent 23 years married to a woman I couldn't really talk to, raising kids I couldn't really connect with, working a job I didn't care about, going through the motions, existing but not living. The nightmares never stopped. Still have them. I'm 78 years old now, and I still see the Arizona burning, still feel the deck move under my feet, still hear the general quarters alarm in my sleep. I see the guys I served with sometimes. There's a VFW post in Astoria. We meet there, play cards, drink beer, don't talk about it. Everyone knows. We all have that look, that knowing. Tommy Chen killed himself in '62. Big Mike made it to 75 before his liver gave out. Drank himself to death, basically. Vinny's still around, but he's in a home now. Dementia. Maybe that's a blessing. Maybe he doesn't remember anymore. My kids ask me about the war sometimes. They're older now, got kids of their own. They want stories for their children. Tell them about Grandpa's service. But what do I say? That Grandpa came home in 1945, but never really came home at all. That Grandpa's been playing a part for over 30 years, pretending to be a person. They don't want to hear that. People see the parades on Veterans Day, see the old men in their uniforms, medals on their chests, flags waving. They think we won. They think we came home and everything was fine. Greatest generation, they call us. Heroes. But nobody asks what it cost. Nobody asks how many of us drowned, even though we never went in the water. Nobody asks about the marriages that failed, the jobs we couldn't keep, the kids we couldn't connect with, the endless nights lying awake at 3 in the morning wondering why we survived when better men didn't. Uncle Tony told me it takes time. He was right, in a way. It took time. Took 35 years. And I'm still not back. Not really. I think about that night on the pier sometimes. The cop who sat with me. I never got his name. Never thanked him properly. He probably doesn't even remember. But he saved my life that night. Not by talking me out of it. By just being there. By understanding without needing to be told. That's what we need, I think. People who understand. Who don't need the stories or the explanations. Who can just sit with us in the dark and know. Margaret didn't understand. My kids don't understand. Hell, I don't even understand it myself sometimes. But that cop understood. And the guys at the VFW understand. And every veteran I see with that same haunted look. We understand each other without saying a word. They told us we were coming home. They had parades and celebrations, and everyone cheered. But what they didn't tell us, what they couldn't tell us, is that home isn't a place you go back to. Home is who you were before, and you can't go back to that. Ever. I came back to New York in November of 1945. My body made it home. But the rest of me, the kid who enlisted in 1940, who thought he was doing something noble and important, he's still out there somewhere in the Pacific, still 20 years old, still waiting to come home, and he never will.